I once knew a man who gave tens of thousands of dollars away to his community and asked nothing in return. But why? I'm Liz Hartke, and what if the success you're chasing isn't your finish line? I spent my summers in high school working at my grandfather's law office. It was right down the street from my high school in the inner city, where it was one of the more impoverished cities in the country, actually. And my grandfather was towards the end of his career, in his early 70s, and just liked having me alongside him. I would just work as a secretary at the front desk, answering phones and keeping the books for him. And I loved just watching him at work. But one thing that always stuck with me, and I was always very interested in business, so I was trying to pay attention to how he ran his small legal practice. I noticed that there would be people who would come in the door and they'd ask for my grandfather. And oftentimes they barely spoke the language and they were just looking for him. And they'd come in and I would notice my grandfather would come out of the back with his checkbook. And time after time, I would see him writing a check to these people that would come in asking for him. Now, I wasn't any kind of business strategist back then, being a high school student, but I did know the basics of a P&L, and there was a lot of money going out. And I was wondering, wait a minute, how are we going to generate profit as a business if you keep writing these checks? And I just wanted to know what was going on. So one day over lunch, because he would buy me lunch every single day, and we'd sit together for like 2 hours and just talk. I said, Jiddo, that's what I called him, what's the deal? Why are you the one writing the checks to other people? Shouldn't people be writing checks to you? And he said, well, a lot of people are coming to this country and they don't have what we have here. They don't have a big network of family who are there to, give them a leg up if they need something or to be there for them. So they don't have that village, and they're trying to make a life for themselves and for their families. So sometimes someone will come in and share their story of a hard time they're going through, or maybe they've lost a spouse, or they're trying to get their kid into a safer school, but they don't have any money, or they're not able to make rent, or they're trying to get a business off the ground. And I just feel called to be the one to support them. So he would write these checks to give them kind of just a kickstart to their lives. And I asked him, well, don't you think by now the word's kind of spreading? Because it seems like almost every week a new person's coming in looking for money from you. Are you sure you're not being taken advantage of? And he laughed and he said, oh, I'm sure I am. But I would rather 99 people come in and take advantage of me and me run the risk of that happening if it means that one person had the opportunity that they wouldn't have had otherwise because I believed in them. And I just gave them a little something to get them started. And that was such a pivotal moment in my life, coming from a place of being like, oh, someday I want to run my own business, and how do I get ahead, and what will I have to do to make money? But then instead, I know God placed me in that law office alongside my grandfather to witness and watch how he cared for people and how he gave without any expectation of receiving something in return. Now, I know I only worked there for a couple of years in the summer, but I watched him my entire life. And I'm sure that it was more money than I had any idea of. And it wasn't just money, it was his talents and his time and his home. There wasn't a Sunday at my grandparents' house where they weren't opening the door to someone we had never met before to come join us and sit around the table and break bread with us and pray with us and just experience life together, because maybe they didn't have that family at home. And so often I think I work alongside a lot of really ambitious people, really successful people. And it's very easy to get in a rhythm and a mode of thinking, what's in it for me? Or what can I take from this life, right? What can I get so that I can get ahead? And then someday I'll have the money to be a philanthropist or to give back to my community. But I witnessed it in him, seeing how he never was waiting for the stars to align before he gave to someone else. And sometimes it meant taking from himself in order to be able to give to others. Now, I know for me, I've been wired for a long time, because you take note of what are the best financial strategies when you run a business, and how can I build enough wealth that I can pass it along to my children. But I don't necessarily think that's the sole approach and the best way to impact the future generation. And the reason I say this is because of what I witnessed in my grandfather. Now, he ran a successful law practice, but he also did a lot of work pro bono, and we know now he was writing checks to people to try and give them a leg up over many, many years. So despite having a successful legal practice, there was no trust fund. He wasn't passing along riches to his 7 children. But what he passed along to both his 7 children and all his 25 grandchildren, who are now going on to have families of their own, so the ripple effect continues, is this example. Those 7 kids didn't need money from their father. He was able to go out on empty because he poured everything into just being who he needed to be to set the example for his children so that they could just through osmosis absorb that and then go on and impact others the way that he did. He never had to sit them down at the table and say, listen, this is how we give, and this is how much money you should give to others, and this is how you do it. He just lived it. And they saw it time after time after time. The way that, he gave financially, but he also gave of his joy and his wisdom and his guidance, right? Mentoring people and caring for people and loving people well. And now I got to see that in my own mother and how she went on to run her business and serve others, and then how she taught me to go do that. So that generosity and that spirit of giving and that servant leadership, which is kind of a redundant phrase, like leadership should be servitude. It should be pouring out and into others and giving of yourself. So I challenge you in your business or in whatever corner of your life, where are you holding with a sense of scarcity of like, what do I need for me, right? What do I need for my family first? And understanding instead, when you give, you naturally receive. Yes, in the sense of it feels good, right? Like it fills your cup, but you also are receiving the joy of community and lifting others up. But then when God calls you to give freely without expectation of return, you have to trust that when he says he's going to provide, he will. I saw time and time again, my grandfather, give without hesitation and without any expectation. And then the community provided, right? If he ever needed anything, people were jumping in left and right to serve him. I think to the movie, It's a Wonderful Life, and George Bailey being in that banker position and how often he was just giving and giving and giving, but then the ripple effect of that and how people were so quick to give back to him. Now, you don't necessarily have to give with that expectation of like, oh, I'm going to get, but that's just a natural byproduct of it. The other thing too is it keeps you in this posture of gratitude and love, which is a really profound place to live your life from, where you are actually positioned in your gifting in life, right? You're not living from a place of lack. You're not living from a place of fear or scarcity. You're not trying or posturing to try and be like someone or performing. You're just living in congruence with exactly who you're called to be. And the end result of that is just attracting and building a life that has meaning, which is what we're really all seeking. I can't tell you how many successful entrepreneurs I've walked alongside where they've done all the things, they've built and amassed the wealth, they've passed along the trust fund to the kids that they have almost no relationship with, but boy, they got a lot of money that they went and squandered anyway. But really what they had always been seeking all along was just some kind of meaning, but they were just trying to find it in the wrong places. So my challenge to you is this: where in your life can you give more generously? Maybe it's in your business. Maybe it's in tithing to your church or your community. Maybe it's just in spirit, right? Maybe you just walk by the person who looks like they're having a hard day, but you just have too much on your plate and you don't have the capacity to deal. What if you just gave that moment of time? What if you just lived a life of generosity? What if you thought less about what you needed and what you had to take and just gave and watched what came flowing back to you? One of the things I do with my clients that's kind of neat, and these are all high performers, these are very ambitious, very, very successful people. We reset their KPIs. We have a tendency as entrepreneurs to have our metrics that we're shooting at, right? Revenue, and what we're doing this quarter, and client acquisition and client retention and whatever marketing numbers we want to hit. We actually come up with KPIs that keep us in this zone of generosity, that keep us in a place of giving and love and focus on others and pouring into others, something that a lot of successful people don't even think to do. So if you want to get a better understanding of what those KPIs look like and how you can implement them into your business and your life, just look at the link in the description. I'll just pass them along to you for free. They're such a wonderful tool. And at first, it's always funny to watch my uber successful entrepreneurs be like, wait, what? We're going to have KPIs around this, around that? That's not going to generate revenue. And then they live with it for 1 week. And it's like the spark comes back in them and they come alive. And so much more fruit stands to be birthed out of that place of abundance and pouring into others. And the byproduct of that is often all the things that they're striving so hard for, except it starts to happen naturally. So go grab those KPIs in the description. You'll really enjoy using them and come back for more.